This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook, and I have a true entrepreneur here, Evan Brandoff. He is the co-founder and CEO of Leagueside, and I wanted to start in the most, I think, interesting part of what you do is so many people have aha moments in entrepreneurship, and 0.001% of them actually do anything, and another 0.001% that do something actually are successful at it. What was your aha moment in starting Leagueside?
So about 6 years ago, I had recently graduated from the University of Texas, and I was doing a fellowship program called in Detroit. It was part of the Venture for America fellowship program, if you're familiar.
Yeah.
And I was working for a tech company in downtown Detroit. I was one of the 12 people that was living in downtown Detroit at the time. Yeah.
Before Gilbert bought it all and turned it around.
Exactly. And now it's incredible.
Yeah, incredible.
And I used to love volunteering at youth sporting events. One weekend in particular, I was volunteering at a basketball tournament. Rasheed Wallace's son was actually playing, so Sheed was there. And I looked around the auditorium and realized there's no better way to engage with a group of families than when they're together watching their kids play sports. And I thought back to my youth sports playing days. My favorite memories were at Mike's Pizza after the game, because they sponsored my baseball team, my soccer team.
Sure.
So we thought, what if we could connect the thousands of community youth sports leagues and make it possible for regional and national sponsors to tap into these communities, help kids play sports, while simultaneously reach their target audience in a super engaged way. So that basketball tournament, that was my aha moment. Called Zubin, who's my co-founder.
Yeah.
And now it's 5.5 years later.
So talk me through that, because I want to dissect how this happens, because it's more common why people fail, because they don't understand how long it takes, what it took, what those conversations were like. So once again, aha moment, now you kind of formulate the need and also the emotional attachment.
Yep.
So then you say to yourself, I need help. Why did you call, what was his name, Zubin?
His name was, Zubin.
Yeah. So why did you call him?
Yeah, so Zubin was also in the Venture for America program with me.
Okay.
It starts with a 5-week training at Brown. Zubin's from Dallas. I went to the University of Texas. A lot of his best friends from growing up were my best friends in college.
Okay.
So we immediately hit it off, realized that we had complementary skill sets. He is a brilliant doer. He's extremely savvy when it comes, he has great technical chops.
Yeah.
I'm more of sales and marketing focused.
So you're smarter than he is.
No way. He's way smarter than I am. Yeah.
I'm a sales and marketing guy.
Exactly.
I was joking.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So, and he's just the man. We used to have brainstorming sessions while he was in New Orleans and I was in Detroit. A lot of terrible business ideas.
Yeah.
But he was also volunteering at youth sporting events. He felt that pain point as well. I called him with this aha moment, and it resonated with him, with his experience in youth sports, being an athlete his entire life and volunteering in New Orleans. And then fortunately, it was time for applications for an accelerator program that we got accepted to.
So he had the same feeling when you took that emotional, like, hey, I got a great idea, what do you think? He immediately got excited.
Yes.
And then you guys decided, okay, let's apply to an accelerator. Is that your first choice? Is, okay, let's get this involved into a program so we can develop it?
Venture for America had an accelerator program partnered with First Round Capital in Philadelphia.
Okay.
We were fortunate to be accepted into the first class. We were hosted in Philadelphia at the First Round Capital office for 3 months.
Yep.
And we were talking before the show, talking about how it's tough working and living in an incredible setup, and then coming to terms with the reality of an entrepreneur. We were put up in one of the nicest buildings in Philadelphia for 3 months. And then after, just were sent to go figure it out. And
through that, a lot of people have questions about accelerator programs, and not even specifically about the one that you were in. What was your objective and perception going into the accelerator? Since you have limited amount of time, that you're in a first class environment, what were the key objectives that you had going in, and what do you wish you would have had as your key objectives going in?
So my general philosophy with accelerator programs is you should go into an accelerator program when you are in a position to win that accelerator program. And there are winners and losers in accelerator programs. The companies that do well on demo day are the ultimate winners.
Right.
For us, this was more of an incubator. We just had a general concept.
Yeah.
And this was the nudge we needed in order to take that concept, quit our jobs, and go full-time on Leagueside. And during that accelerator program, we got our first client. We actually got Applebee's and Smoothie King in the 3 months, and realized that a lot of sports leagues wanted to get sponsorships. And that was the additional validation that we needed to continue down this journey and go raise some capital.
And so now you get out of the Accelerator program. Did you utilize relationships from the Accelerator to raise that money, or just once again using your network and grit to go ahead and start that raise?
A combination.
Okay.
Venture for America put on a Shark Tank style event with UBS. So 3 senior employees at UBS were the Sharks, and about 500 UBS employees were in the crowd. We went up and pitched, and the winner was supposed to essentially just get a medal and $5,000. One of the Sharks decided that he personally wanted to be our first investor. He invested $50,000, which we were able to turn into our first $250,000 raise. Just a couple of months into starting Leagueside.
And do you think he invested because of, 1, credibility, 2, the emotional attachment that he had the same experience that you guys, or 3, the quantitative value that you displayed during the event, or a combination thereof?
A combination of all 3. Mm-hmm. We're in such a fortunate and lucky situation with Leagueside, where we're in an industry that we could grow a multi-billion-dollar company, while simultaneously, the better we do, the more good we do. Half the money we make goes back to youth sports leagues and fulfills our mission of making youth sports more accessible. Yeah. So as he sees that dollars are shifting away from digital towards in-person, tangible things, everyone wants to figure out how to build one-to-one connections with their consumers. Sponsoring youth sports leagues is an incredible way to do it. We're solving that fragmentation and helping kids at the same time.
Wow. And then for him, though, did he express to you, what I was trying to get to is the emotional side of, a lot of times that first investor, you have the credibility in place and obviously the quantitative analysis.
Yeah.
But it's been my experience that emotional side, when you get someone that's just watching and say, you know what, I want to give you $50,000, is because he's having an aha moment aligned with yours. Did you get that feeling from him, or was it expressed by him explicitly?
Yes, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And that came up from Greg, Mr. Kennedy, that he's like, wow, I've had this idea, and that's what's special about what we're doing. It's not anything novel. We connect community youth sports leagues across the country with regional and national sponsors.
Right.
Our tech platform automates it and shows results. It's just the fact that we're taking something that a lot of people have thought of and creating a marketplace, doing it at scale. To your point, it resonates with a lot of people.
And so a lot of people have those types of ideas, that other people have thought about or wondered about. What do you think the difference is between you and your partner that are able to be not just innovators, people who come up with these ideas and have aha moments, and truly to be entrepreneurs, someone that can take it to scale, monetize it? I mean, you have really big clients now. You're growing very quickly. It's, I think, still has so much upside from where you started.
Thank you.
What do you think the difference is between that innovator and entrepreneur?
It's a great question. And what Zubin and I often talk about is that we're really lucky that we were fortunate enough to have the opportunity to be able to take this risk. We both grew up with families that were able to pay for our education. We were able to get into the Venture for America program and be put in a situation where we had low downside if Leagueside didn't work out. We had families that we could go live with. We had support systems. And
that's so awesome.
Yeah, and that's...
Because you're one of the first people that have been on here, and I joke around, all those things that you just listed out that you see as advantages. We were talking before this about perception and mindset of neutrality.
Yeah.
And I truly believe in that neutrality of, keeping things as with the least amount of interference or corrosion, and people find that interference and corrosion. So other people see it as more risk. Other people see it as they weren't given an opportunity because they come from those families that they have so much to lose.
Yep.
You know, how could I ever tell my parents I'm not going to do what they sacrificed so much? You know, my dad went to med school, my mom went to law school. They paid for private school, they paid for UT, and now I'm going to go and risk, you know, my great job that you know I was supposed to. And this is literally, to me, the biggest interference for people that have, you know, a quality background, and this is why gratitude.
Yep.
Is so important, because I'm someone that steps on a stage and I said, who here grew up with nothing? And the kids who raised, you know, half people raise their hand. I'm like, oh, good. I feel sorry for the rest of you. Right. And meanwhile, you're, you know, justifying your success. So you had nothing to lose because that's what you saw. And I think the most important thing that's come out of this podcast so far is that you're the classic illustration of mindset. That so many people think the guy that grew up with nothing has the strong mindset, the Matt Higgins of the world that got a GED. And talk about, like, they had nothing to lose.
Yep.
And you sit here and with your mindset, you had nothing to use, and that was your big advantage when I said what makes you an entrepreneur. The point is, no matter where you come from and what you have, how much your parents have or don't have, how much in loans you have or don't have, you always have nothing to lose.
Exactly.
Right? And I think the bigger lesson is, no matter who you are, if you're watching out there, you have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose, because whether you're born into it or born with nothing, you have nothing to lose, because it's only you that are making up in your mind. And you have friends that went to UC on scholarship or borrowed money, and they're making the excuse the other way why they can't be accessible, because I got to pay off my law loans, I got to pay off this, I got, you know, my mom, I got to buy her.
You're in debt anyway.
Exactly.
You've got nothing to lose.
You can always make up. Exactly. So taking that into consideration now, that you have this mindset that you're so lucky, which is a mindset, by the way, right? Yep. Luck is, to me, bullshit. Yeah. Like, luck to me is people that are consistent, persistent in the pursuit of their potential and have learned to keep practicing ending fear. And you're someone throughout your career that just practices ending fear. And, you know, I'm glad that you did. Now, the next step of the journey, which everyone needs to learn from you, is you get funding, and now there's good pressure on you. Taking people's money, you know, nice people's money like Mr. Kennedy is and others. Yeah, that's real money. That's real money and real pressure.
Yeah.
Now, how did you figure out taking it to the next level where you scale a business, right? So you're blessed to take in the money, but now you got to execute, and you really don't have great experience in scaling or executing money. What were the tricks to do that?
So that phase, really loved that phase. And to your point, you articulate it so much better than I do, but everything that ever happens in your life is neutral, and it's up to you. It's mindset. If you react to it and you have gratitude, or if you let it get you down. And love hearing you speak to that on your show. Yeah. So my favorite phase of building Leagueside was that phase when we had initial capital, but the team was essentially just Zubin and me. And at that point, our biggest advantage, there's things you know, there's things you don't know, and then there's things you don't know. And that ignorance was bliss for us, because people would say, you can't call Verizon right now, what are you doing? You can't call Comcast, you're only two people. But we didn't take no for an answer and would just knock down doors. And that ignorance allowed us to go out and get our initial few big accounts and go build a network of over 9,000 community sports leagues across the country. So that phase right there of just going, putting our heads down and focusing on grow, was a fun time of Leagueside. What got more difficult is when the team started to grow. In the early on, you have to do everything. So it's always, you know what you need to do, because if you don't do it, then you can't build a company. Right. What gets harder, I call it the ugly teen stage, is now that the company is larger, it's like, what can I be doing with my time that accelerates and allows everyone else's job to be easier, because I don't want to step on people's toes and do their job.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the ego-based emotions in that ugly teenager phase is the need to be offended. Mm-hmm. I'm 52 years old. I've built huge businesses, lost businesses, built businesses. And every time I get to the ugly teenager stage, my biggest thing is that I have this need to be offended. Like, oh, they don't care about it, or they don't care like I do, or they, like I have all these emotions tied to their performance.
Yeah.
And I can't believe somebody would lie or cheat or steal or oversell or back end sell. And, my dad told me, I'm cursed with overhead and employees. Why did I do this? But in the end, once I get over the need to be offended, to take my personal and say, look, I'm here to allow people, right? To allow people to have an opportunity to grow this with me. This is why I did it. I didn't do it for me. I'm doing it through me for others, for the communities, for the companies, all of those things. Do you ever feel as you scale, and I rarely ask this, but like resentful? Like, do you ever feel, because I'm just being really honest. It's one of the things as I look back, like I didn't mean to, but I just felt so resentful sometimes of like every employee, and I forget, like, dude, this guy's only making 40 grand.
Yeah.
Like, you're not, he's not running the business. Don't expect him. But like, I resented the fact that he wouldn't sacrifice or make the right choices or didn't know what he didn't know. Did you ever get resentful?
The only times I got resentful was when I was paying myself 40 grand. It was paying someone else significantly more, and they didn't have that ownership mentality.
Yeah.
Which is a good segue, and I didn't realize until recently how important core values are. I used to think it was just something flashy that is wall art. But core values and finding people that are like-minded to you in the organization is so important. And one of our core values is Leaguesiders are owners and not renters. So we are able to give our team that ownership mentality by giving them tasks and allowing them to be owners, but also that mentality of the analogy I like to use is if you lease a car at the end of your 3-year lease, when you turn it back in, it's probably dinged up. You probably didn't get oil changes on time. But if you buy a car, you're not missing an oil change. You're taking your Sunday mornings to wax your car. And you need to find a team and also enable your team to be owners and not renters, so you don't have that resentful feeling towards the people on your team.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that, how resentful we can become. I've had that situation where my executives make so much more than I, and in their mind, like, yeah, but you own equity. I'm like, it's not gonna be worth anything if you don't have the right attitude. And those core values truly determine the attitude. And I have 4 core values. I think people think I'm silly when they come in, but I probably spend 80% of my time when I'm in the office talking, asking questions, empowering people about gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, which is ownership, and inspiration, that neutrality of inspiration, of knowing where you're connected and how things come through you. The don't know what you don't know side of things as a young CEO and co-founder is the most difficult thing. It can be great if you're a person who was born to ask. I teach ask, right? Series of questions of how you can be of service or value, but series of questions of you, anybody can help me. And I believe in you. Like zeros never, I'm never afraid of zeros. I don't know why. Maybe because I grew up with nothing. So what's the difference between $10 and 10 million? I don't know what it is in my head. It's just, and I see people panic. Like, I've had PR guys, and when I started speaking at $5,000, they were nervous at 5. Then I raised it to 10, they were nervous at 10. Then at 25, nervous at 25. Then 50, they're like, I can't ask. I'm like, it's the same thing. Like, and in my mind, right, it's like, ask.
Yeah.
What are you afraid of now, right? You still don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm 52 and I don't know what I don't know, and it really excites me. I just know that I know a lot less than I thought I did at 52. At 32, I was like, I know so much already. Now I'm like, I know so little already.
Yeah.
But what is it you think that you don't know, like where you need the most help?
That's such a good question. Every day.
You should come on my podcast. I ask really good questions.
Yeah, exactly.
I should have a top entrepreneur podcast. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I ask such good questions. Okay.
The more I learn that I don't know.
Good.
So the more I assume that I don't know, if that makes sense. But the biggest area that I'm focusing right now for personal growth is now that the team is about to be 25 people. By the end of next year, it should be about 50 people. This is all uncharted territory for Zubin and me. Every time we hire someone new, it's the largest team we've ever run a company for. So how So what keeps me up at night is not necessarily the zeros in my bank account or how I'm doing, but it's supporting for the rest of the team, and not just making sure that Leagueside is successful, but also Leagueside is a place that people are prospering in their careers, they're learning, they're happy. So how to be a leader of a growing team that creates an environment that everyone wants to be at and is happy and thriving is where I feel like I have the biggest area to grow.
You are doing a great job. I can't wait to introduce you to some of the people that I know, because I'm really, really impressed by you. And I haven't met Zubin yet, but I can't wait to meet him as well. We have Evan Brandoff. He is the co-founder and CEO of Leagueside. This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.